What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll discuss SVR booster boxes a little bit, and then also I want to have a discussion about MSRP and booster boxes potentially getting there in the future. Are we close? Is it still a long ways away? I'll give you my reasoning as to why I believe what I do. To start off with the SVR sets though, in general, most boxes were down a little bit this week. A couple were up though. Temporal Forces were up about $1 to 271.59 on TCG Player. The other two sets that were up in terms of market price, we had Surging Sparks, now up to around $246, and then Journey Together, which is about $259 USD on TCG Player. Now, in terms of supply, there were definitely boxes that had more on the market this week, but a couple that also surprisingly had less, and I'm not sure if that has to do with just because TCG Player price is coming down, the boxes aren't being captured with like the 20% leg up as they were maybe in prior weeks, but it could also be sellers taking their boxes off the website, moving the price up. Maybe they anticipate some things are going to change. Something like SV Base though, there's never been a ton of boxes out there. I think when you compare SV Base to basically any other set in the Scarlet and Violet era, there's only about 50% of the boxes of SV Base below a 20% leg up compared to the next closest box in terms of supply. And it's no secret that SV Base hasn't been the best performing booster box over the past 12 months during the bull run. Again, the sets that have performed the best tend to be the stronger, more desirable sets. But I mean, if you're buying this at like $100, you really had no downside. It was a super safe place to put your money. You're also up over 100%. I think I was buying mine at probably like 85 USD, I think, when I bought my case. There's a really good deal from pokeyzone.ca up here in Canada back in, I think, like May of last year or something like that. But it's definitely not going to be going crazy anytime soon. Now, moving on to Paldea Evolved, this is kind of interesting because there's only about 33% of the boxes that we captured this week below a 20% leg up compared to last week. There's a ton of boxes. I think part of that has to do with Hobbiesville maybe moving their box price up or just taking them off of eBay. But also, sales volume on Paldea was up about 15%, I think, compared to last week. Part of that I do think has to do with Paldea only being about $405 currently on TCG Player. And I think as we see a lot of these boxes continue to come down in price, we are going to get to a point where that sales volume starts to pick up, and then we'll eventually see the price of some of these boxes start to turn around as well. Now after that, we have Obsidian Flames, the best set ever created. We're also going to look at top 10 value at the end of this video as well, just to give you guys an updated metric for basically every SVR booster box. This is sitting around 306, decent amount of supply out there, not really moving too well right now. I wouldn't be surprised if we look at this box a couple weeks from now and it's sub $300. I think that's entirely possible. Paradox Rift as well. This is really getting crushed hard. I mean, it's kind of sad to look at this. Down to around $247 on TCG Player. Definitely not one of the stronger sets from the Scarlet and Violet era. I know a lot of people want it to be that. I just don't think that's ever going to happen. Now, I will say there isn't a ton of boxes listed below like 300 USD on eBay. I think maybe like 10 cases worth of boxes below that like $299.99 range, which all things considered for an SV era booster box right now really isn't that much. So keep an eye on Paradox maybe going into the new year. Temporal Forces, this is again one of the only three boxes moving up in price this past week, sitting around $271. You can find this box cheaper on eBay though, and there's still a decent amount of supply out there. A lot of it coming from Hobbiesville, which I think had probably, I don't know, 40%, 50% of the supply below like $330 or whatever it was for Temporal Forces. Twilight Masquerade, more boxes on the market as well, sitting around 307, 308. I wouldn't be surprised either if this does dip below $300 in the short term. Stellar Crown even is a box that there's more supply on the market now. We went from it being one of the lower boxes to now there being like maybe 15, 16 cases worth of booster boxes below a 20% leg up. Surging Sparks, as you guys know, these are hitting the vending machines. It seems like that's continuing to happen. There's more supply coming to market. Sales volume as well, though, is continuing to move up. We actually had another all-time high for Surging Sparks sales volume this past week on eBay. And that's actually excluding too, I think I excluded maybe 12 boxes that I saw as sales where it was like, I don't know, $185, $200 USD. It looked like a really fake listing, new seller, bad feedback, like 50-60% feedback. So it's clear at this price around like $200 to $240, people are gobbling up Surging Sparks, and hold on to that too, because we will use that in a discussion here in a minute. Journey Together, still decent amount of supply out there, not really too much to talk about, still sitting in that 260 range. And then Destined Rivals, finally, $370-ish on TCG Player now. It's fallen a lot. Honestly, I know a lot of people though, they bring up this 500 number here on TCG Player and say, oh, look, it's fallen so much. This box was never $500. It got like pumped for what, 30 minutes? So I don't know. There's a couple sales up to $700. Realistically, this was always like a $340, $350 booster box. Maybe one to argue got up to 400. So it really hasn't pulled back that much from where it realistically was. There's still a ton of demand for Destined Rivals. It has slowed down over the past couple weeks, but it's still one of the better selling booster boxes from the Scarlet and Violet era, even at like $370. And I don't think that's ever going to change. When we look at the value in the top 10 hits, for example, it's really not even comparable to anything else in the SV era when it comes to the booster boxes. Specialty sets, Paldean Fates, and then obviously Prismatic hold up pretty well, but when we look at booster boxes, the closest set outside of Surging Sparks would be Twilight Masquerade and then Paldea Evolved. And I bring that up just because I think Surging, you could see this 884 number for top 10 value come down again just because there has been so many boxes printed. We're more than likely going to see more product opened. There's going to be more of those top cards out there. And that's more than likely going to affect price. Whereas with something like Paldea, Twilight Masquerade, I don't know if we're really going to get that much more of these sets. Now, obviously too, Destined Rivals, I think this number will come down over time. We're moving into a less popular period for Pokemon, and this hasn't even got reprints yet. So over the next couple of years, I would imagine it's going to come down off 1,600. Maybe we get close to 1,000. Maybe it stays a little bit higher, like 1,200, something like that. But it's still the clear number one booster box set of the Scarlet and Violet era. Nothing comes close. I mean, if you look at the card list here, you got the Mewtwo, you have Cynthia's Garchomp, Ethan's Ho, you have a Moltres, Team Rocket's Nidoking and Crobat, and then even some of these like supporter cards, the Misty, obviously the Lapras and Psyduck, Ethan's Adventure, I really enjoyed that Trainer SIR as well. You compare it to something like Surgeon, sure, you have Pikachu, you have Latias, you have Milotic. The Gold Pikachu is probably my favorite gold card that Pokemon's ever released. And then you have a couple other decent characters in here, Ceruledge, Latios, the Lysia's Appeal, Hydreigon, they're all right, but it's not on the same level as Destined. But to have a little conversation about MSRP, I don't think we're close to booster boxes being there yet. I mean, when you look at the Scarlet and Violet era booster boxes, SV base is probably the closest at like 200 and what is it, 38-ish dollars, 237. I doubt we get more SV base out there. I think it's really unlikely that we see this drop all the way to like 161. Same thing with a lot of these other earlier sets, Paradox Rift, Obsidian, Paldea, obviously, I don't think would ever get there. But then when you look at the newer sets that are getting a lot of reprints, like Surging Sparks, this box dropped to around $230. And we are seeing all-time highs in terms of sales volume. Like, it is ridiculous the amount of boxes of Surging that are moving at $230. If this got close to $200, I imagine that would just continue to climb. $180, again, people would just be buying this up like hotcakes. I think the supply needed to get a box like this to MSRP is something that Pokemon is just not able to print right now. And if someone's curious which box I think has the best chance of getting to MSRP, it's probably going to be Journey Together just because it is a less popular set. When we look at the top 10 value, you're around $457. So nothing crazy in terms of the hits inside the set. I know some people like to talk about Lily's Clefairy. I do like the Salamence and Zoroark. They're pretty cool cards, but there just isn't a ton of value there. If Journey got a massive reprint of booster boxes, we could potentially see it get to MSRP, but even that I think is very unlikely. But who knows? I could be entirely off base here. You guys can let me know in the comment section down below what you think. If you got some value out of this content, I'd really appreciate if you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below for the algorithm. It really does help push the video out to more people and support the channel. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Stay safe wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you in the next one.